It's the big one. Manchester City against Arsenal in the Premier League with 10 games to go. This could be where dreams are made. It could be where dreams are dashed. It could be just another one of those games with the rest of the fixtures yet to play being more decisive. Either way, we're going to talk about it in the most calm, composed, and certainly not nervous out of our minds fashion that we can. This is the Arsenal Preview Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner. Back again with you guys for another episode of what is our Arsenal preview series, the show in which we look ahead to the next Arsenal fixture with a collection of our brilliant members from our Discord server. And it is, as I said at the start of the show, the biggest of games. The biggest game so far this season, with Arsenal travelling to the Etihad Stadium in the hope of winning for the first time in this ground under Mikel Arteta. I'm joined, as I say, as always, by three fantastic guests from our Discord. First of all, it's Tom Sable. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
I'm doing great. Woke up with a headache and went and took like 87 migraine pills. And but then I went and saw Godzilla versus Kong and made it worse. But I'm good now. Yeah. I'm hopped up.
Good. I'm glad. I've just realised that none of you realised my mic's not on. We were just talking. I'm hoping now that it's going to be fine. There we go.
We wanted you to do the checklist. You have to do the checklist on air.
You didn't give me the checklist. You're just like, this question. No, it's fine. Oh, dearie me. The chat box letting me know. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate that in the chat. I had three guys backing me up. None of them telling me. It's all good now. We've sorted. Yes, it is. I'm hoping in the same way as kind of James, but Nicholas, that your misfortune is a sign of good things for Arsenal. Is what I'm hoping, Tom. So you're in.
Yes, sir.
Pains for Man City, I'm hoping is what it is. We're also joined by Damien. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
Yeah, I'm good. The nerves are starting to settle in at the moment for the game tomorrow. It's been really quite surprisingly upbeat in the build-up to the game, like the 3 weeks we've had. But in the last couple of days, I'm starting to doubt the confidence that I've had previously. So.
Yeah, I absolutely empathise. I felt pretty chill. I felt pretty, cool about it. Excited. The fact that we've sat through an international break, being top of the table, I think has really helped. Yeah. Obviously, the qualification to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, we got to enjoy the draw. Damien, obviously, you were on with me for the draw, the live draw that we did too. And there's been real optimism, I think. But now it's here. It's like very, very different. And
the reality, we are actually playing them.
Yeah, the reality hits, doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely, the reality hits. And joining us from his Datsun is Bryce. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I hope that my mic's okay. I'm okay. It is. Yeah.
I feel like that was a dig. That almost felt like a dig, mate. To be honest.
What was the dig?
Checking if your mic was okay, because mine clearly is never.
Well, it wasn't. I promise. It's every time I've always been on the show, I always am on my laptop, and I'm on my cell phone because I'm currently on a lunch break at work. And I looked at my boss and I said, I gotta go right now. I gotta be on this pod. This is the most important game of the season. I can't miss it. And you mentioned. Was it James or Andrew who stepped on the rake? I can't remember from Arscast.
James is the one who typically tends to hurt himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So I work at a hardware store part-time. I'm a teacher, and then, teachers don't get paid enough here in America. So I work a part-time gig as well on the weekends, and we sell rakes. And if I need to, I'll do it.
Sideshow Bob style. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Indeed. No, we appreciate your service, Bryce, for sure, in the name of Arsenal hopefully winning. There are, Tom, a lot of questions when it comes to this game, question marks that won't be answered until we see the lineups come 3:30 tomorrow afternoon, UK time, of course. What time's kickoff, US?
11:30 a.m.
a.m. Is that on the west?
Yeah, on the East Coast.
East Coast, yeah. So West Coast, it'll be 9:30, I want to say.
8:30, I think.
8:30, okay. Of course, it's different here as well. It might actually change because obviously clocks go back as well tonight. So if you are abroad, do make sure that you've got your time sorted of when it is going to be in relation to the time here in the UK, because it will change. So just another warning for that. And of course, tomorrow morning's 8 a.m. show, just be aware of that as well. Will be an hour earlier than usual. But yeah, there are, as I say, Tom, a lot of questions. Let's start with the Arsenal side. Martinelli, Saka, Gabriel. You've heard from Arteta in his presser. There was hopeful optimism that they would be involved in training today. We've had no information, as we would expect to have no information, because we want to keep things as hush-hush as we can. We might want to know, but I think we'd all rather that we kept it as quiet as possible to keep Man City guessing. But how are you feeling about those three and the question marks associated with them?
Well, I was talking with Bryce beforehand. We both have some concerns for who we wanted to start when it comes to Martinelli, because that's the big question for us, because he should be good. He's had enough time, but he hasn't been running a lot. It was a cut. It was a bone bruise, but
it was a cut. Yeah, it was assumedly pretty deep from the sounds of things. Yeah,
yeah. It's all about how well it healed, and then whether he's got enough fitness between whenever he started running again. And I do think that Arteta is playing the game, and he's doing it well. He's always been good at it, but especially a game against City, he's got to be even better. That's why I asked you this morning about that question about when do we know, is there a rule about when somebody is out? Because in the United States,
made me think.
Yeah, in the United States, they do it ahead of time, but it's usually a couple hours before like the NFL football game, and it's typically because the gamblers want to make sure they can they have the right odds and the right money. So yeah. I wasn't sure, because when Pep said out, I was really kind of shocked that he came out and just said out. But with Martinelli and Gabriel and Saka, I think all three will play. The only question mark right now really is Martinelli. I do think that he's going to be okay, and that's just might be because, like it says in my headline, they're tragically optimistic. I see the best coming from this weekend. So.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's one thing to be tragic about, it is optimism. So yes, certainly I'm hoping that it rings true. Damien, obviously we missed Saka in the first game because ironically we've got question marks about players that we had going into the home game, which was Saka and Martinelli. Saka didn't make it for that game. Martinelli did, but only to the bench, and obviously made a significant impact coming off it, scoring the goal in the second half. And we ended up going with a Jesus and Nketiah Trossard front three that then beat Man City. I mean, that must give you some confidence, even if some of the players we want to play don't necessarily make it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I love about the Arsenal team this season is how different they are to the Arsenal of last season in terms of the mentality. You get the impression when you see them, when times are tough and pressures on us and whatever else, like during a game, they seem to have that mentality now to be able to actually get through it and pull together as a team. And that, I think, was very evident. The fact we was missing them players in the first game, that didn't impact us because they still had confidence in each other and how good each other is and how well they play together. Yeah,
absolutely. I think you're spot on. The depth that we've now got as well, like that, knowing that if you miss players, the players that come in, Trossard's, you've got Havertz now. Obviously, his form has come to the forefront with Nketiah previously being the starting figure there, was in the England squad previously now. Yeah. Havertz has not only just had a good form for Arsenal, but he's gone away with Germany, scored, started both times at centre-forward and looked good under Nagelsmann. So there's reason for optimism there. And obviously, we've got the depth in terms of Thomas Partey coming back, Tomiyasu coming back, Jesus, as we mentioned, coming back. Zinchenko's in the squad again. We've got all these players that have returned, and I think they're going to be key. And Jurrien Timber, we hope, of course, joins them very soon also. But that's some really important depth that we've got going through when we're playing 2 games every week for the next 6 weeks, potentially, if we beat Bayern, in the Champions League. Bryce, in terms of the Manchester City side of things then, obviously, as Tom mentioned earlier, Pep Guardiola said categorically Stones and Walker are both out of tomorrow's game. How impactful do you think that is in terms of how good, the basic form of the question, but how good you think City can be with those 2 missing?
I think it's a huge hit. I think, honestly, I thought that earlier this season when Rodri and De Bruyne were out, that's, in my opinion, way more important than Walker and Stones. but still huge. I mean, it's still a huge boost for Arsenal, especially on that left-hand side. If Martinelli is fit, and even if he's not necessarily fit to start, but fit to sub on for the last like 30 minutes, and he can really stretch out that side without Walker there, because Walker has just the most insane recovery pace. And I'm pretty sure the only person that has beat him in a foot race this season was Martinelli. And so having Martinelli out there to beat whoever is going to be their right back is going to be very important, because Walker's recovery pace is insane. And then you have John Stones, who plays just such a unique role for Man City. It's a really important role that I don't think a lot of center backs can just jump in and play. And so it's going to be huge. I think that when Rodri and De Bruyne were out, that was more important. But, I mean, I'll take anything we can get.
Yeah, I think what is so key about this Arsenal team in comparison is the one-by-one matchups. You know, Martinelli versus Walker. Had that have been there, you know, Martinelli against Walker, you're thinking, well, I know they gave him a torrid time in some of the recent fixtures we have played, and I think he did well in some of the recent fixtures between the two. But if Martinelli can come on against the Kanji instead, that's a very different matchup. You know, Rodri obviously not being in the midfield for the home game was a huge loss. I think Rico Lewis actually started the midfield for them in the away game when they came to the Emirates. And so those matchups are different with Rice and Jorginho obviously coming into the team too has been really key in some of these big games for us. Liverpool, he was fantastic. Porto just pulled the strings as he needed to as well. Now, Tom, there is a chance that, you know, Martinelli might not be in the team this weekend. And I know all of us have got our lineups, which we'll talk about in more detail in a second. But we saw that he wasn't available against Porto. Jesus was back available as well. And I know a fair few people would pick Jesus. And I think one of you guys actually has picked Jesus for your starting position as well. But Leandro Trossard obviously started against Porto, scored, didn't have the particularly greatest of games, but getting him into a position where he can score, he's probably the best finisher, I feel, at least at the club. Is it a case of Martinelli doing what he did against City if he can only make the bench? And if he's not even available at all, how much confidence have you got in a player like Trossard to step up?
How can you not have confidence in Trossard? Because, like you said, he is our best finisher. The thing is that other than scoring that goal against Porto, you're right. He was not good. But sometimes it's all it takes for somebody who's got a special, way about him, special talent. My concern is that Jesus is chomping at the bit. I would love to see him get in there, because I think you may have tweeted or somebody put out there that he was in practice, he was just on fire and he was playing really well and he's looking like he's ready for it. And going back to the Etihad, going against his old team, he has something to prove. If Martinelli was not to go, I would want Jesus in there, I think, over Trossard. Even though having Walker out, Trossard could really have his way on the left-hand side. He is just such a Santi Cazorla type of controller of the ball. So I do think that that's a benefit, but I really do think that Jesus would be somebody who could link up with Saka, could change with and Havertz, can change in and out. I just think he is the person that could be the X factor for us.
Yeah, without question. You know, he is one of those guys that out of nowhere can make something happen. He did it for Brighton. You know, he's done it in big away games, scoring a hat-trick at Anfield, of course. So he's got that on his CV. But we obviously, I think, hope that Martinelli is the guy that is fit enough to start. But also you could look at him and say that Martinelli's an excellent player to bring off the bench. The explosive pace that he possesses, we already know that this fixture in particular, he can have an impact into, which is important. But Damien, the Etihad, as we've mentioned, has not been the greatest of places at all for Arsenal to go to. I think the last time we won at the Etihad was that 2-0 win, I think, where Santi Cazorla had that little free kick over the top for Giroud, and he did that little dance when Giroud headed it in the back of the net. It feels so long ago now since that last league win there. How do you feel as though this team now are prepared to go to this ground where we have never won under Mikel Arteta?
I think they're prepared in the fact that everyone involved in the team, including Mikel, is more experienced. You know, they've gone to these grounds, they've tasted the defeats, they've tasted the heartbreak, of losing out on the title race and all this sort of stuff. And it's made them more determined this year. I mean, we've spoken before about wrongs that have been written this year. And if you're going to win this league, you have to beat Manchester City, and you have to do it at the Etihad. And I just think that the players we've got, especially with the introduction of someone like Declan Rice, it just brings that togetherness there and the determination that you can see in their eyes, that even when it's 0-0 or 1-1 and we're knocking at the door but never able to break it down, so to speak, that they still don't give up. They know how Mikel wants it done, and they will keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it until that whistle goes at the end. And I think the fact that they just keep going and don't give up, I think has done really well for us this season.
Yeah, it is that. We've got something against like revenge as well. We love a bit of revenge.
Yeah.
And I think, we'll be looking at clips of last year. We'll obviously be looking at what went wrong, but also trying to remind ourselves of how it felt losing there and not wanting to feel that again, and not in a fearful way, but in a determined way to make right the wrongs that happened last season. And, there are differences in the team. Last year, we didn't have William Saliba for this game. Last year, we didn't have Kai Havertz. We didn't have Declan Rice, in this side. It's a very different team. An
analogy I said to someone a couple of days ago was that Arsenal this year seems like a team of men, whereas last season they were a team of boys. And that's really the best way I can think of describing it.
Yeah. Last season, it felt like we were punching above our weight quite considerably. Whereas this season, it's like we did punch above our weight last season, but we earned the right to be here again.
Yeah.
And everyone's still writing us off and saying Arsenal were a one-season wonder. They're going to struggle this time. And, it's quite nice being able to, shut people up and put our money where our mouth is, if you like, in the sense of the football. Put the football where our mouths are, because it's the clubs that are putting the money where their mouths are sitting in the bottom half of the table and can't beat Burnley. But that's another story. Bryce, just lastly, before we go to the lineups, in terms of kind of the return from this break, which the placement of this game is the thing I'm most frustrated about. Because obviously before the break, all this momentum, all this steam we built up, unbeaten in the league, in fact, more than unbeaten, won every single league game in 2024, and then you've got this stoppage. Saka's pulling out of international duty. Gabriel is, Martinelli is. You're seeing players get some minutes in the case of, Zinchenko, I think, got less than 90. Jorginho got around 92. And you've got some players like Rice playing 2 full games. You've got Kivior playing 2 full games and an extra time. You've got Ødegaard playing and starting both games for Norway. Kai Havertz starting both games for Germany. And then you've got a comeback. Most of those players that were playing returned on Wednesday, Thursday. They get a session on Friday. They had a session today. And then they're straight back into things. They've got to rejoin up all the connections that they built up previously. Is there any concern in regards to how the break may have affected, not just us, because it's the same for both teams, but is there any concern for you on that side?
Yeah, of course. I mean, to kind of paraphrase Mikel, is these guys play too much. I mean, there's just nonstop. And don't get me wrong, I love it. I love having the guys playing all the time so we can watch them, because that's what we love to do. We love to watch them play, but they play way too much. And but I don't think that we can say that, if we lose this game, it's because of that, because City had to do it too. Phil Foden played, and several of their other international players had played. Walker and Stones got injured. We came out, basically healthy in terms of it, in terms of the international break, because we believe that Bukayo Saka will be fit to play. We took it as a precautionary pull out of the England squad. Gabriel, our big Gabby, and Martinelli too. I think that all of our injuries that we had pulled out were mostly precautionary, other than Martinelli just needed more time to heal his cut. So I think that we are coming out of this international break better than they are, but it sucks. It's a punch to the gut, because we did have so much momentum. And I think that if we would have played this game the weekend, or if we would have not had the international break and we would have played the Man City game on the weekend after our last match, I think we would have walked in just heads held so high. And the confidence, especially in defense, is through the roof. I love watching in the pre-match when they show it the tunnel cam, and you just see White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Kivior death staring whoever is across. I mean, they look like they're about to go to war, and I love it. I love it so much, because if I was there and I looked across and I saw two dudes who are 6'4" and a dude that's 6'2" and another one that's 6'2", and they're bigger than me and they are looking at me like they are about to eat me, I'm scared. I'm scared, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that picture. Like, I think it's great. I think I saw a image today that one of the is it North Banksy? I think the guys that does some of the murals around North London has done one of those on Black. I think it's on Blackstock Road.
I think he put it right next to the Little Wonder.
Yeah. So I think that there is one next to the Little Wonder. But I think that's Erdegaard. I don't know if that's the same. Is it the same?
It might be
one?
Erdegaard. Yeah.
I think Erdegaard's the one next to the cafe, but I think I've seen it. I think it's on Blackstock. I'm pretty sure. That image is just, for me, Arteta's Arsenal. That's how it feels to me looking at that image. It's, we're not scared of anyone. We're intimidating. This is the Arsenal of old back again, and we'll compete with anyone for anything. And it's as Chris says in the chat, no more soft underbelly is a really good way of putting it. There aren't glaring weaknesses. We don't make silly mistakes all the time. Every team makes some, of course, now and then, but it's not part of the fabric of our team like it so used to be. I saw somebody was looking back at Arteta's games against City away from home, and it's like things like last season Saliba out, Holding starting. Season before that, like David Luiz gets a red card, or I think it was 2 seasons before that, gets a red card. And something bad happened in one of the other games as well. We were missing some key players too. So it always felt like something was going against us. And this is the first time I feel like we're going into this game and we've got loads of things going for us. And it's actually City that have got the question marks next to them, which is a really nice place to be. Let's go into the lineups then. Tom, we start with you. Talk us through your team and your reasons as to why.
So obviously you see that back five is, again, it's just penciled in every week right now at this point. You can't take Kivior out. The others are just solid. And as to allude to what Bryce was saying, it's intimidation. I like to see that. It's about having that confidence to do what we need to do in the game. So I like having Rice back there and then having Jorginho a little bit further forward. We seem to have done that against some of the bigger teams.
I think we did against Liverpool.
Yeah. And it's the thing is that it does a couple things. It eliminates some of the concerns we have over Jorginho's pace, even though he plays so smart most of the time, 95% of the time, he can outdo his pace with his intelligence. So I think that's important. And I think that, again, if Martinelli is fit, I want to start him. Like Bryce and I were talking about beforehand, it is a good thing to bring him off the bench. You had just said it too. He could be that spark plug. I do have a good feeling about this. And that's why I have Saka on there as my star, because I think he's going to put a little bit of to rest the conversation around Foden or Saka. Because Saka's going to have a couple of goals, I think, and Havertz will chip in with another one. So,
he's going for 3. I look forward to his prediction. I very much am looking forward to your
prediction. I may not have finished my goal prediction yet. We'll see.
We'll see.
I'm tragically optimistic.
Exactly. Damien.
Yeah, so I've gone with Jesus on the understanding that Martinelli doesn't start at least.
Sure.
And the main reason why I've gone with Jesus is because Kivior's going to need help on that left-hand side. When you look at Man City and you watch them play, not only do they have Foden going down that side, but Bernardo Silva tends to drift out there. De Bruyne tends to drift out there. And I just think he could become very much overwhelmed if he's not got enough support down there. And obviously, Rice or Jorginho, one of them, will also help out, as will Gabriel. But you often see with Martinelli, he will be back defending with the left back and helping them out. And Jesus, one of the issues I have with him when he plays up front for us is he's everywhere except where you want him to be. And that's because he's working hard. He's trying to help everybody all over the pitch. Whereas if he's on that left-hand side, help Kivy or defend with Kivy or get forward. Plus, you've got the fact that he's got the tricks in him. He's like a little snake, the way he slithers about and whatever else, And I just think that could be the difference between getting us a set piece. And I think a set piece could be what decides that game tomorrow.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, so just the one change from Tom's team there with Jesus coming in on the left-hand side. And it's interesting to see what kind of role Jesus has, I think, between now and the end of the season as well. And I think where his future lies, because Havertz is, for me, he's locked down the centre-forward role at the moment, which is, absolute massive props to the guy, considering where he started. And then in the summer, of course, all the talk is going to be surrounding a striker. So it leaves Jesus in a little bit of a limbo and question marks. But I think that he's got a really good place in this team. I think he's got, he adds so much depth, rotation for us as well. Really key, important part of the squad experience.
The fact that he can play anywhere across the front three means he can always get regular game time.
Exactly. 100%. I remember asking him after the Champions League games, because it was when we were being very heavily linked to Tony. I think it was the Sevilla game. No, it was the Lens. I think it was the Lens game when we won 6-0. And I remember saying to him, I was like, we're being linked with, strikers. And from that position of view where you're at, what do you think? And I remember him responding to it very much like, my mind is on the fact that I was at City, I played with Aguero, who was always there, and then I was always being linked with new centre forwards coming in. So yeah, I think it makes sense. He's used to this now, and it's great to see him in that position. And lastly, Bryce, talk us through your team, mate.
Yeah, so one change from everybody else's, and that was Trossard in, and I'm actually rethinking it now. The reason I said Trossard is he's played. He played for Belgium. He's been playing for Arsenal. He has minutes under his belt. And he is arguably our best finisher. However, listening to Tom talk earlier about Jesus, he's right. He's right. Jesus is just a workhorse. The dude doesn't stop. And he's really tricky. And I mean, we all saw that Trossard can be tricky when he was on a international break, like 5 or 6 months ago now, where he did that just amazing skill. I can't remember who that was against, though. But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Was it last this 2023 or 2022?
2023.
We played United and I want to say no, it wasn't Chelsea. That was the year before. United and who was the other team we played? Come on, America.
Well, this was when
who is it we played?
This was when Trossard played. This was international duty.
Might have been Spain. Might have been Spain.
Yeah, I think it was Belgium versus Spain, and he just did that like little insane. It was, I don't even know how to describe it. It was a skill move I haven't really seen.
I absolutely know what you're talking about. I don't know why my head was going back to pre-season. I really don't. He did like a little flick and then chipped it over like a sliding player. Yeah, I do remember. Yeah.
Yeah. He can be tricky, but Jesus is trickier. And Jesus is also better on defense, and he's better on the press. And so, you know what? I think I'm going to change my lineup. And I know we're not supposed to, but I think I want Jesus there.
Okay, we're going to put Jesus in for Bryce's team. That's absolutely fine. I respect it.
Yeah,
Damien's convinced you to go with Jesus. So there you go.
He has, yeah, and I think Martinelli off the bench, and I think you can always bring in Trossard too if we need a late finisher. But the reason I went with Rice as my star man is I don't think he's going to get a goal. And I don't think he's going to get an assist, but I think he's going to be by far our best player. And I think we need him to be a destroyer tomorrow. I don't ever want injury on anybody, but I would love it. I would love it if Rice put Foden on the floor 40 times and didn't get a card. If he just threw him around like a little boy and just I want Rice to just dominate that midfield and be the physical animal that he is. He's so fast. He's so strong. Be that man. Be that guy for us. And, he's a great passer and very progressive dribbler as well. But I want him to just disrupt that midfield. That way, Jorginho can focus on being a creative passer, and Odegaard can be a creative passer. Rice just dominates that entire midfield. I'd be so happy. And yeah, I would, I'm expecting goals from our forwards here in this match, not from our defenders or midfielders. Although I did think about going Big Gabby as my other star man too. It was between Rice and Big Gabby. Just trying to keep Man City at bay.
Well, hopefully both, in particular, obviously, Gabriel is available to play. That's going to be another question. And I actually did leave a question as a poll in our chat box. I used the question because I saw a lot of people tuning in and saying, is Martinelli fit? Is Gabriel fit? Is so-and-so fit? And so I've said, if you could be told the team news for tomorrow, but knowing that means that City then know too, would you take that call? And thankfully, 69% of you, which is actually less than I thought, have said no, they wouldn't want to know and they would keep it secret. But 30% of people, just so selfish. I'm desperate to know the team news and, it makes them feel better, but it would give City a bit of an edge, I think. So you got to think about that. It's interesting. In terms of my team, just quickly before we go to predictions and wrap things up, I have gone with Trossard myself in this team. The assumption that Martinelli, not that he's not going to be fit or any inside information I've got, it's not like that. It's just that I feel like Martinelli can be an impactful player from the bench. I think that Trossard is our best finisher, and we may get the most in terms of limited amount of chances we've had so far this season. If one does fall the way of Trossard, I think there's few players, if any, that I'd rather a chance fall to at the moment. So maybe Havertz, of course, as well. But, Trossard in particular, I think on that left-hand side is going to be really key. Other than that, we've all gone for the same team. It's all Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Jorginho, Rice, Odegaard, Saka, and Havertz. It's only that left-hand side really that's creating a couple of question marks, which shows you, the consistency of this team, the strength and the form of some of these players. We saw Arsenal return from a break from Dubai with brilliant form. Ben White in particular was one of those players that returned really strongly. He's been the talk of the town over the international break despite not playing. But I think maybe this break could be, again, really good for him and maybe see him take his game to even another level. Saliba, of course, as well. Those two on that side are going to have a big job in locking down probably Julian Alvarez. I'd probably imagine will start on the left. And then Phil Foden, you think, would be on the right, which is going to be Gabriel and Kivior if Gabriel is indeed fit. If not, I'd like to see Tomiyasu come in to that left centre-back slot. I think that's who I'd probably go for, with Kivior still maintaining that left-back position as well. Right, let's round off the show with these predictions. I'm going to leave Tom till last, actually, because I'm the most curious about his. So, Bryce, we'll start with you, mate. And scoreline and scorers, please.
We're going to go 2-1. And we're going to go Havertz. We're going to go Havertz with the brace.
Love it. Lovely stuff. Who's scoring for City?
Kevin De Bruyne.
I'm also curious what order these goals are coming in. Is it going to be like we're 2-0 up and then they score and it's a nervy end, or we come in from 1-0 down, or how is it playing out?
Kevin De Bruyne is going to score first in the 34th minute.
So specific.
Havertz is going to then equalize in the 37th minute.
Right.
And then it's going to be a Havertz 88th minute.
Oh dear, my heart is not.
Yep.
Goodness.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal. Hey, question real quick.
Then. Yes, go on.
So we saw that Saka came to America to watch a Celtics game. Do we know if Ben White went anywhere towards the equator?
Are you saying he might have topped his tan up? Is this what It's like a
well, the big question. Oh my gosh, I just cut out really bad. What did you say, Tom?
I said it's like when you're playing Need for Speed and your nitrous bar is filling up, and is that like when Ben White gets a tan, he's refueled? Is that what it is?
I think we can all agree, and maybe this will have to be a poll for the next one. Is Ben White solar powered?
Is Ben White solar powered? Of all the questions, I thought when you said Tom can I ask a question, I wouldn't have gone there in a million years. But you can let us know in the chat box. Is Ben White solar powered as he comes toward the end of the season and the summer months begin to get closer? Are we going to see the best form from Ben White? And maybe that's why Gareth Southgate is determined to get into a summer tournament, because my goodness me, a Ben White in June, That is something scary. Damien, scoreline and scorers, please.
So for me, it's going to be 2-1 to Arsenal, but it's not going to be an easy afternoon. It's going to be a terrible afternoon because they can't let us have a good easy run of things. So I agree with what Bryce said. That I think Man City will score first. I'm going to go with Bernardo Silva for them because I just love that player. I think he's absolutely sensational. And then for us, and I think it's going to be 1-0 at half time. And then in the second half, we're going to get a goal fairly early in the second half from Martin Odegaard. And then a 94th minute Gabriel header from a Declan Rice corner.
I can't, dude. Honestly, I can't. I know we're making dreams reality here. I get it. But you guys are just glutton for punishment with this.
Don't get wrong. It's going to kill me. You know, I'll probably miss the winning goals. I'll be dead on the floor. But...
Yeah. Oh dear. I'm glad. It sounds strange, but I'm actually glad I'm not going to this game. I've been to the Etihad the last 2 times we played City, and we obviously lost both those games. And I'm glad I'm covering this one from home, just because there's no way I'd be able to contain myself in this one. Either way the game goes. Right, we've waited long enough for it. Tom, tell us what I'm assuming to be a rather ridiculous prediction.
It won't be that ridiculous, although I have been very quietly confident all week, and I do think this is going to be one of those games that for years to come sets us off as this is the moment that we became the Arsenal for the next 4 or 5 years. But that being said, I do think that we're going to end up, it's only going to be 3-1, like I was alluding to earlier, but it's going to be 2 goals in the first half. I think we're going to get 1 goal from a, let's say, I was going to say Saka. Saka will probably lead us off. And then I think Havertz and his dark arts are going to get us he's going to get us a penalty. And Saka is going to score that. And then we'll go into halftime 2-0, come out of halftime, and we're going to have Havertz score another goal. I mean, score a goal for his streak of goals. And I think that Haaland will get a late cheap one. So I don't think, because I couldn't do it to myself because my heart would stop if I predicted something crazy like that. I'm hoping for this. So that's what I'm expecting. And I'm also expecting that penalty that Havertz gets from the dark arts that he does, it's going to be on Rodri, and Rodri will get a red card.
Oh, that's going to be great. Because
that might just be pure hatred on my part.
Hopefully it's like a straight red. So he misses like the next 3 games as well. You know, that's perfect. Yeah, I think he's close to 10 yellows, actually. So he's due a potential 2-match suspension. Bryce, I feel like you want to jump in.
Yeah, you saw me on mute. Yep. Havertz is gonna jump up, and he'll accidentally elbow him, and then Rodri's gonna choke him. It's gonna be a callback to Bournemouth.
Yeah, we've seen Rodri do that already this season. So you know, it's in his records. He's used to doing it. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I tell you what, I've been going back and forth with my prediction. I think I said 3-1 on the one earlier in the week. To be fair, which now I look back on now like I was so like Damien all week. I've been so chill about this game, and now I have to really think about it. I can't see City not scoring. It's just one of those you just assume they're going to score. But we kept them to, I think, 0.something XG at the Emirates. We really locked them down, but they didn't have Rodri, who just seems inevitable as a player. Even in the big games, he pops up with goals like he did against Liverpool, obviously this season too. I don't want to make it a 1-goal difference because I just can't put my heart through that. So I'm going to go with the 3-1 still, I think, as well. Rodri will score and celebrate like a madman, and then we're going to batter him with 3 in the second half. Yeah, and they're all going to come within like the first 15 minutes because I'd screw you guys. I'm not going to the end. No chance at all. To be fair, that said, like in the other, you're kind of flipping the script with that because it means you're then for half an hour you've got a 2-goal lead that you're trying to hold on to. It's just going to be constant pressure. So I guess maybe either way there's benefits and drawbacks. But it's great to see the optimism because the amount of times we've gone into this game and the same level has not been there in terms of being so optimistic about this. So we've all picked wins, and I can see in the chat box there's plenty of really positive score lines as well coming in too, which is really, really good to see. But a massive thank you to my guests today for jumping on. Bryce, thank you on your lunch break for jumping on as well. Really appreciate your time, mate.
Yeah. You can find me in the Discord. Twitter is Bryce Connor 8. Remember, if you're going to the Philly game, contact me on Discord or Twitter. We're trying to set up. I got probably only 8 or 10 people have contacted me so far.
That's
I
more
know
than
it's a
thought
ways
would,
out.
to be fair. I'm surprised there's that many. Fair play.
We have
Fair play.
we have a guy who wants to DJ this event
Oh my goodness, this is
that
crazy.
listens to the
Okay.
podcast.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Okay.
so
Yeah,
and we
well,
have
obviously,
narrowed it
we'll
down.
put
We're
more
gonna
information about that out, Bryce, when we get into the summer, because people will forget. So, you know.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
For sure,
100%. Yeah. I'm just, as a teacher, you learn that repetition is one of the best ways to remember something. So every time I'm on the show, I will be plugging the Philly event.
There you go. So yeah, when Arsenal go to Philadelphia in the summer for preseason, there's going to be a TGT event organised by Bryce. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. And Damien, thank you so much, mate. Always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend. Tell people they can find you and what you're going to be up to.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to come on. And yeah, I'm in the Discord. They can find me in there.
Lovely stuff. And where are you going to be watching the game tomorrow?
At home, behind my sofa with a blanket, rocking.
Indeed. Like so many of us. Tom, thank you for jumping on, especially considering the headache that you've been suffering as well. Hopefully tomorrow soothes it. It won't, but hopefully it will. Thank you for your time, mate. Tell people they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter threads at Sir Sable or on Facebook, Tom Sable. The Gulf Coast Gooners, and I think Magic Mike might be making an appearance at McNitton's this weekend. So,
goodness, poor
yeah,
you.
that should be, it's gonna be interesting.
Indeed,
never a dull moment.
Absolutely, yes. So make sure if you're in the area to go down. What's it called? The place?
McDinton's.
Dintons.
MacDintons.
McDintons. Make sure you go and check it out if you're in the Gulf Coast area, people. Please do. Thank you, everyone that's listening in the chat box. Those that are listening on catch up, appreciate your time. I'll be live tomorrow morning, bright and early at 8 a.m. once again to break down the final dregs that we've got to talk about before the big game, of course. So please do join me tomorrow. But again, please remember, clocks go forward here in the UK, so it'll be an hour earlier if you're outside of the UK. So yes, and if you're in the UK, sorry, you've got an hour less in bed. But it'll be worth it with the longer nights and more sunlight to power up Ben White in the evening, of course, as well. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Appreciate your time. Drop a like, subscribe, stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal and keep those fingers crossed.